Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the most pivotal battles in history, examining the strategic context, operational art, and human cost of war. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're going to explore one of the most infamous conflicts of World War I, the Battle of Verdun. This brutal and devastating battle was a defining moment in modern warfare, a clash of titans that would leave an indelible mark on the landscape of France and the psyche of its people. As we set the stage for this epic struggle, let's transport ourselves to the early 20th century, when the Great War was still in its infancy. The year is 1914, and the world is ablaze with conflict. The German army, under the leadership of General Erich von Falkenhayn, had been secretly preparing for an attack on France, seeking to quickly defeat their Western enemy before turning their attention to Russia. The French, on the other hand, were determined to defend their territory and regain the lost provinces of Alsace-Lorraine, which had been annexed by Germany following the Franco-Prussian War in 1871. The city of Verdun, situated at the confluence of the Meuse and Moselle rivers, was a strategic location that controlled access to the French interior. The French had heavily fortified the area, building a series of defensive positions, including the forts of Douaumont and Vaux, which would play a crucial role in the upcoming battle. These fortifications were designed to provide a strong defense against the German army, but they also created a sense of complacency among the French military leaders, who believed that their defenses were impenetrable. As tensions escalated between France and Germany, General Philippe Pétain, the French commander, emerged as a key figure in the defense of Verdun. Pétain was a seasoned military leader who had risen through the ranks of the French army, earning a reputation for his defensive strategies and his ability to inspire loyalty among his troops. He would become synonymous with the defense of Verdun, and his leadership would be crucial in the face of the impending German attack. On the other side of the conflict, General von Falkenhayn was determined to crush the French army and secure a decisive victory. He believed that a massive assault on Verdun would not only capture the city, but also draw French troops away from other parts at the front, creating an opportunity for the Germans to launch a decisive blow. The two generals had fundamentally different approaches to warfare. Pétain believed in a defensive strategy, relying on fortified positions and artillery to wear down the enemy, while von Falkenhayn advocated for a more aggressive approach, using massive firepower and rapid advances to break through the French lines. The stage was set for one of the most brutal and devastating battles in history. The Germans had been secretly preparing for an attack on Verdun, using their superior artillery to bombard the French positions and weaken their defenses. The date is February 21, 1916, and the fate of France hangs precariously in the balance. As the battle rages on, the Germans unleash a barrage of artillery fire, pounding the French positions with over 1 million shells in just 5 days. The French lines are battered, but they hold firm, thanks to the defensive strategies employed by Pétain. The German infantry advances, but they're met with fierce resistance from the French troops, who are fighting for their lives and their country. The battle is brutal and devastating, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The Germans are making gains, but at a tremendous cost in lives and resources. The French, on the other hand, are determined to hold on to Verdun no matter what. As Pétain would later say, "I will not yield an inch of ground." This determination and resolve would become the hallmark of the French defense as they fought against overwhelming odds. One of the most significant events during this period is the Battle of Douaumont, which takes place in May 1916. The Germans launch a massive assault on the fort, using flamethrowers, artillery, and infantry to try and capture it. The French defenders, led by Colonel Charles de Gaulle, put up a fierce resistance, but they're vastly outnumbered. Despite being wounded, de Gaulle continues to lead his men, inspiring them to fight on against all odds. The battle for Douaumont is a microcosm of the larger conflict, with both sides suffering heavy losses and neither gaining a decisive advantage. The Germans eventually capture the fort, but at a tremendous cost in lives and resources. The French, on the other hand, are forced to regroup and reassess their strategy. As the battle rages on, the conditions on the ground become increasingly dire. The trenches are filled with mud, blood, and bodies, and the stench of death hangs over the battlefield. The soldiers on both sides are exhausted, hungry, and demoralized, but they continue to fight on, driven by a sense of duty, honor, and country. Despite the challenges, Bataigne's defensive strategy begins to pay off. The Germans are bleeding heavily, and their advances are slowing down. The French, on the other hand, are regrouping and counterattacking, using their artillery and infantry to push the Germans back. As the battle reaches its climax, it becomes clear that the Germans will not be able to capture Verdun, at least not without suffering catastrophic losses. The Germans have failed to achieve their objectives, and the French have emerged victorious, albeit at great cost. The battle has also had a profound impact on the soldiers who fought in it, many of whom would never be the same again. The consequences of Verdun would be far-reaching, shaping the outcome of World War I and setting the stage for the conflicts that would follow. The aftermath of the battle sees a significant shift in the balance of power on the Western Front. The German army, exhausted and depleted from the relentless fighting, is no longer able to launch large-scale offensives. The French, despite their heavy losses, have emerged victorious, and their determination to defend their territory has been galvanized. One of the most significant consequences of the Battle of Verdun is the development of new military tactics and strategies. The French, under the leadership of General Philippe Pétain, begin to adopt a more defensive approach, using fortified positions and artillery to wear down the enemy. This approach would become known as the Pétain method and would influence French military doctrine for years to come. The Battle of Verdun also has a profound impact on the soldiers who fought in it. Many are left with physical and emotional scars, struggling to cope with the trauma they experienced during the battle. The concept of shell shock becomes increasingly recognized as medical professionals begin to understand the psychological toll of modern warfare on soldiers. As the war continues, the legacy of Verdun shapes the outcome of subsequent battles. The German army's failure to capture the city leads to a re-evaluation of their strategy, and they begin to focus on other fronts, such as the Eastern Front. The French, on the other hand, continue to defend their territory with determination and courage, eventually contributing to the Allied victory in 1918. In the years following the war, the Battle of Verdun becomes a symbol of French resistance and determination. The city is rebuilt, and a grand memorial is constructed to honor the soldiers who fought and died during the battle. The ossuary at Douaumont, which contains the remains of over 130,000 unknown soldiers, serves as a poignant reminder of the human cost of war. The bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers who fought in it will never be forgotten, and the lessons learned during the battle continue to influence military strategy and tactics to this day. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography, reminding you to keep marching toward victory.